Hi there, Robert John Hadfield here again from Audiomover, talking about some cool analog stuff. You know, with the resurgence of records, one of the things that we kind of have lost, though, that we don't see around anymore, are these things called 45s. And this particular one, I mean, everybody knows this song, Livin' on a Prayer. It's amazing how just enormously giant this song was, Bon Jovi's Livin' on a Prayer. And for those of you that don't know, you have records that are 12 inches, and, that would be a full album. A lot of times your record is going to have 10 songs on it. And the record itself spins at 33 1/3 RPMs, revolutions per minute. And so these records were something we called singles. And they would often just have one song on it, or at least on one song on each side. And so it played faster. It was 45 RPMs, and then and it was smaller as well. And I'll just show you what it looks like on the inside. So a 45 looked like this. So it had a bigger hole, and you'd have to put a little adapter on your record player for this to sit right. And then you'd set the player to go at 45 RPMs so that this would sound correct. And a lot of times what they do, they'd have a hit song, on one side, and then a lot of times what they would do is they'd pick another song from the same album. And I think this was also from Slippery When Wet, Wild on the Streets. And then they'd put that on the flip side. But what they do is they would sell these as singles. So if you didn't want to buy the whole album, you could go out and buy the single, whatever song it is you liked. And they'd sell these for couple bucks, $1.99, I think is what they'd go for. But this one was this song, Livin' on a Prayer, was such a big deal. It came off the album Slippery When Wet, and I don't know how many, I think this album ended up selling like 10, 15 million copies. It was crazy how many this sold. But this particular song kind of became really Bon Jovi's theme song, and matter of fact, every cover band in the world plays this song, because you play it, you're guaranteed people are going to get out and sing along and dance. It's just it's a no-brainer. But one of the things that made this song so great, I mean, there's a few people that were involved with this that made this thing awesome. And when you go on this, it's easy to overlook the names on here, but I want to take a second and talk about them, because there's a lot of really important people that were involved with this song that made it so great. So, of course, let me just take it back out so you can see. The first thing, when you look who wrote it, of course, you've got John Bon Jovi, you have Richie Sambora, and then you have D. Child, which stands for Desmond Child. Now, who's Desmond Child? Desmond Child is a guy that just did he co-wrote a lot of music with people. And to give you an idea, the song I Was Made for Lovin' You by Kiss? He helped write that song. He worked with people like Ricky Martin. Livin' La Vida Loca. Livin' La Vida Loca. He helped write that song. Ricky Martin had another song called She Bangs. He helped write that song. He worked with Rat. He worked with Joan Jett. And he also helped write the song Bad Medicine and You Give Love a Bad Name, also by Bon Jovi. So in other words, this guy was a great songwriter, and he helped put this song together. Richie Sambora, who was a guitar player and was also one of the people that helped write this song, they had to convince John Bon Jovi to put the song on the album because he didn't like it. The original recording he did not like. And it's, imagine if the song hadn't have made it onto the album Slippery When Wet, because it is the song that made that album, and it made them the mega stars that they became. So anyway, Desmond Child was one of the people that helped write this song. So you had this great songwriter that was involved in the process. You flip it over on the other side. Bruce Fairbairn. Now he's probably not as well known, but this guy was a great record producer, and one of my personal favorites, and I know this doesn't say much because most people don't even know anything about this, but one of my personal favorite albums out of the 80s, I have a lot of them, was a band called Black and Blue, and an album called Without Love, and he produced that album. He also produced another one of my favorite bands, Honeymoon Suite, an album called The Big Prize that all came out around this same time. He produced Permanent Vacation, which was the album that really resurrected Aerosmith. They had broken up. They came back together, the original lineup, and did an album called Done with Mirrors, which did okay, but then it was Permanent Vacation that put them back on the map. He produced that album. And then, of course, he produced Slippery When Wet. So you had this really talented producer that helped produce this music. He wasn't exactly involved with the music, but Doc McGee he managed Motley Crue. He managed Kiss. So a lot of the really important bands, he managed them, and he was managing Bon Jovi. But then you also had Bob Rock, who is the engineer of this song. Now, where have you heard the name Bob Rock before? Well, how about Metallica's Black Album, which is one of the biggest selling heavy metal albums of all time. The one that had Enter Sandman. He was involved with them on that. I think he might have even produced that album. I'm not sure if he just engineered that one. He might have produced it. But anyway, Bob Rock was involved with that. Bob Rock was involved with the Cult Sonic Temple, which was the song that broke the Cult out and made them huge. He produced some of Motley Crue's stuff. Once again, he worked on those other albums that I was talking about, Honeymoon Suite and Black and Blue. I mean, he even worked with people like Michael Bublé. So go look up Bob Rock. Bob Rock was a hugely, wildly important. As a matter of fact, I think he still works. I mean, he was doing things even just a few years ago that I knew of. So this song, while it was a great song written by John Bon Jovi, there were a lot of other people involved with this that made this thing the mega hit that it became. From all different angles, from the production to the engineering and mixing that took place, the songwriting. They had a lot of help with this. And so Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi, who were the team that made Bon Jovi, they were obviously a really big deal, but it was also these other people that were involved. And so it was kind of cool, having these singles, these 45s, where you could go just buy this one song. And what made these 45s kind of cool too was that they'd often have a picture that maybe you'd never seen before. I don't know if this picture is anywhere else, but they'd have oftentimes different pieces of artwork that maybe wasn't used on the album, but then they'd put it on the single. And so you'd buy these things sometimes because it was just kind of this extra, even if you own the album, because I own this album. But I also happen to own the single too, because sometimes it was cool to buy these because you'd have something different. You'd have a different song on the B-side. You'd have a different artwork, or you'd have something special. The song on the B-side would sometimes be an unreleased track. An example of that would be Led Zeppelin. The Immigrant Song, which came off of Led Zeppelin 3. Well, that was a single, and they put it out as a 7-inch single, just like this, the Immigrant Song. But on the flip side of the single was Hey, Hey, What Can I Do? Which ended up becoming a really big single for Led Zeppelin. It was never on an album. It was on the flip side of a 45. And so these 45s were a kind of a forgotten thing, but these were a critical, really important part of music history. This was back in the day. This was similar to today, how you download one song. This was the 80s, 70s, 80s, 60s. These things go way back. I think this format was developed in the 40s. And so this was the old version of today's downloading a song, listening to a single song. But this is what you do. But you'd literally go to the store. These things would cost like $1.99, and then you'd be able to buy this one song. Anyway, like I said, this is kind of a forgotten part of music history, these 45s. I have hundreds and hundreds of them. We'll probably make more videos of these just because I think it's cool. But anyway, I thought this would be interesting, especially because as far as singles go, this was such an important song. It was such a big deal that it's kind of cool to look at the single for this particular song because it was such a big deal, just separate from the album Slippery When Wet, which was such a huge seller. The song itself stands out, where Slippery When Wet stands out from hard rock albums of the era. This song stands out from all the other songs that were on the album Slippery When Wet. Anyway, hope you enjoy this kind of stuff. I get a kick out of talking about it. And so anyway, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe to the channel, support our channel, and also another way to support us is if you have old audio and videotapes that need to be converted to digital, go to audiomover.com. That's audiomover.com, and you can start an order there. So if you have some, or if you know somebody that does, because you probably do know somebody that does, let them know about us and go to audiomover.com and you can get an order started there. Anyway, with that, have a fantastic day.